Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. I'm going to take a look this today at the astrological weather report for the week of June 24th through 30th. So we've made it to the end of June. So I'm going to take a look at that and two the bigger shifts of the month that I talked about with the monthly or this week when Saturn goes retrograde and Jupiter is semi-square Chiron. And then interesting journey with Mercury this week too. So that's what I'm going to touch on this week. And just a little business first. The Astrological Wings channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. So if you like what you're seeing, you have a YouTube account, please become a follower. And don't forget, if you do, to turn on your notifications. And that way you'll know when the blog is posted every week. And what I ask you to do, since it is a free service, is that you then pass the link on to somebody else that you know might be interested in checking it out. And I really appreciate you doing that. That's the main way I get the blog to grow these days. So really appreciate when everyone does that. And remember, it is a podcast too. It was a podcast long before it was a YouTube channel. So remember that you can still get it on podcast if you'd rather not, watch or be married to the video, and you can listen to the podcast at other times where you just check in on the audio. Just look it up on your favorite podcasts. Buzzsprout puts it out. The numbers have been going way up on the podcast too, so I appreciate that, you guys, whoever's been checking in on that. People all over the place, really appreciate that. Also has an Instagram page, Astrological Winds channel, and I do at times not only post the link there every week, but at times I do post some extra comments during the week, certain things, and it's not video or audio format. That one's just something, a couple sentences maybe on a certain day or something. So that's always cool to check out. And I do post it also on my Facebook page, which is a private page. It's Matthew with two T's, Lawton, Lauten. So if you want to see it come up in your newsreel every week on Facebook, friend me, and eventually I will get around to approving you. And the best place to find it, besides having a YouTube account and getting it that way, is on my website. And I embed it every week on the website. Just go to the blog tab and you'll find it, and you'll find the past blogs from this year there too, in case you need to go back and check out any of them, maybe the month before or whatever. Most of them are there to check out. And then I also have a calendar page on the blog. And also I am a professional astrologer. I have been for over 20 years after 7 years of professional training. When you or someone else is ready to get a chart done or any kind of astrological service, please check out the website under my menu for services there, and you'll see I have all kinds of different services. Prices are there. You can work with me if you have a budget that you need to fit into. Just drop me an email. There's an email tab right there where you can directly email me there, or you can email me at matthuey823@gmail.com. And the last thing I want to mention is I am right now running a raffle. If you give $5 to the blog through Venmo or through Cash App or something like that, you will get a chance at winning a free reading. And every $5 you put in is another chance to get that reading. So my Venmo handle is at the symbol A with the circle, Matthew with two T's and the capital M, hyphen in the middle, and then capital L, Lawton, Lauten. And my Cash App, it's just the $, capital M, Matthew Lawton, all one word, Mattthew, capital Lauten. So if you'd like to participate in that, and I'm kind of doing it as an experiment right now, and may continue depending on how popular that option is. But always can check the website out for all that stuff. If you have a group, you're looking for classes, if you're a professional that you're looking for a weekly or monthly or daily astrological counseling for your business or whatever, please get in touch with me. All right, let's get to the week here. So I did go over the two biggest things of this week on the monthly, but I'm going to repeat them since that was so long ago. Maybe not quite as much detail, but this is the week that Saturn goes retrograde is the first thing. And that won't be until Saturday, but he's slowing down obviously now. and it will be the second of the outer planets to go retrograde. And they don't know astrology well, the outer planets stay retrograde for months. So when they go, it's a much more subtle shift than something like Mercury going retrograde. But we're going to have Saturn go retrograde, and that will be until November 15th. It's going to be at 20 degrees Pisces when it does go retrograde about, and then it'll go back to 13 degrees of Pisces on November 15th. So we'll stay in Pisces. We're in the middle of the Pisces Saturn journey these days. And so, when Saturn goes retrograde, I like to remind you guys a lot of what we see with Saturn is social, on the social level. It's one of the two social planets. It's helped build the structure of our society and the systems that we create around society and culture, and how we act as a unit together as different nations or civilizations and things like that. And when Saturn goes retrograde, it's a subtle shift. But what you will see is that authorities will go back to the way they're used to doing things to keep order. And here in Pisces, I think, that is very much so. They can go back to what their old positions, or what you would call old time religion, something like that, where they're going to try to go back to methods that in the past has helped them maintain control. And I think, interestingly enough, with Pisces, so much about values and ideals and things like that, we'll see a lot. And once again, as I've said before, it's a dualistic sign. It's the two fish swimming in opposite directions. We're going to see a lot, probably, of the control games in society being by different factions. Like here in the United States, the Democrats versus the Republicans is a perfect example of that. And Republicans representing a lot of people with conservative, more religious values, where the Democrats are representing values that are more liberal. The two fish swimming away from each another, but they're actually still connected at the tail in the same societies. I think people really try to entrench their positions, is a good way to say it, when Saturn is in Pisces and going retrograde, and really try to control things the way they were used to doing. Now, Jupiter semi-square Chiron, I mentioned that earlier too. This is a frustration aspect. This is what we feel is the inability of being able to put our values into the real world, just feeling very, very frustrated by things that are blocking our values, and it may have us start to question our own beliefs and things like that. So it's one of those things where it also not only question your beliefs, but maybe have you even start to sit there and consider changing some of those beliefs, because it's just painful to try so hard to get your beliefs and your values going, and to constantly be running into things. And once again, Jupiter, a societal planet, running into things in society that disagree with the belief systems, with the value systems that you have, and having it constantly being blocked. Now, here in the real world, again, you look at something like this, I talked about with the Saturn thing, maybe Democrats versus Republicans. Here in the real world, Jupiter also represents the judicial system. So, we can see there has been a lot of really painful events for people relating to the judicial system in the United States, and just seeing how they're hurting people, and they're trying to maintain some value system that's theirs, maybe not feeling like there's justice actually being served, things like that. So it's you can see, and once again, Jupiter also in a very weak sign right now in Gemini, where people can be caught literally with their deceptions, with their lies, with their untruths that are causing the pain, are causing the blockage, those things. So once again, we have these two aspects that are the retrograde of the Saturn's coming up, and then this aspect of Jupiter semi-square Chiron that are more long-term, more going to affect us through what the effect is on society, but can have us feel really restricted and let down and like even like depressed inside that we can't seem to move forward on the values that we believe in, that there seems to be blocks in society itself, and the authorities of society itself, the people who are like, putting out the moral conversation or whatever it may be, that's just like pushing us back. So this is, can be a very frustrating energy, is what that comes down to. And what's interesting to me about that is, when I talk about this week, Mercury is having an interesting journey, especially from Tuesday through Friday, or even into Saturday, although the energy changes on Saturday. But on Tuesday and Wednesday, Mercury is going to trine Saturn, and then it's going to oppose Ceres. And then on Friday, it's going to square Chiron. So, like, there's actually like a T square being formed between Mercury and Ceres in an opposition like this, and Chiron in a T square. And so this is like a painful thing. I mean, when you think about Mercury opposite Ceres first, right? The opposition in this T square is that not getting the resources we need, and feeling like the people around us are not like responding to that well. Like when we need to get help or our expectations met, they're not being met, and that lets us down. And it's almost like a lot of times our reaction to that may to be to even shut down, to not even let the other people know, because we have this thing like, isn't it obvious what I need right now? And don't you see what that is? I can't believe that you can't see this. So, it's like it can really actually shut down our conversations, because we're just so disappointed that people are that unaware of what our needs are, that our basic needs are not being met. And so, so then you get the square to Chiron comes in too, and it just makes us feel like, okay, we're learning a lot of really painful lessons right now, that like we're trying to figure out ways to deal with this issue of not having our needs met, not having our resources met. And we're seeing how other people operate, and we're seeing how they can hurt us. And we're, so, all of a sudden, like, it can bring up fears. It can bring up stuff like betrayal. It can bring up stuff where, you're learning through painful lessons about what's going on. There could be some tough losses involved, things like that, where, okay, this is all meant to learn and integrate. And the T square is going to make us act on it. We're not going to sit idly there and just be like, oh, I'm going to just let this thing roll over me. We're going to want to activate on that. And it's interesting because the opposite side, on the open side of the T square, is Libra. So that is like creating partnership, is ways that, that partnerships that are in balance are ways to do that. And so that goes to the third aspect that Mercury is making during Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that is a trine to Saturn. And I think that can help us with, with the doorway being out. Mercury trine Saturn is having like a very, very detached, like constructive criticism look at what's going on, so that we can see where we're falling short. We can see where we've made mistakes. We can see where we can make systems better, where we can make the structure better, we can make it more solid, so that we can get our needs met. And like, once again, not only with the opposite series, but remember that Mercury is in Cancer right now, and that's all about, once again, feeling secure because our basic needs are being met. So this Mercury trine Saturn can help us really go through things in detail, organize a plan. How are we going to like make sure that our needs are getting met? And that a lot of times also includes our loved ones, the people around us that, that we want to take care of. So we have a very serious attitude about this, and it's like it's not gloomy, or depressing. It's more like, no, this is what I have to do. I've met this moment. This T-square has brought me this painful moment, and likely having to do with resources and having to get support, even emotionally, things like that. And so I've hit this ground spot where I'm like, oh, this is what I got to do. So the Mercury trine Saturn was like, let me roll my sleeves up a little bit, get down to work. I can really organize a plan. I can see every little flaw, and I'm not going to take it as something that's going to depress me. I'm going to take it almost as being a constructive criticism. I'm going to take it as being my own editor. I'm going to take it and go through things in a fine-tooth comb. And really the communication with Mercury trine Saturn, and really all these aspects this week may go down. Like, you may only communicate with people over very important, serious concerns on how you're going to approach this. But I do think there's some answers for us there. It's like the creation of partnerships, and then just really having an organized plan where you have the opportunity to correct a lot of these things. And it's interesting when you think that Saturn is actually going retrograde too, that may mean that, we can have this plan of like really being detailed and stuff. May not just be this week, but they go through this whole, it would be a great way to use the Saturn retrograde period that's going to go on for several months now. I said to November 15th, right? Like in your bigger things to do that, to like go through and organize and get detailed about everything you're doing. And that will bring you to like that point where you can like get a very solid structure down and then have your needs being met. Now, there's a couple other things going on this week that, and incidentally too, just to make my final point on that Mercury stuff, notice how that does, play in with that whole Saturn retro. Like I just said, you can use that whole period, but it also can be, some of the blockages that trigger a slowing down, in what you're able to do and build up during that Saturn retro period. Anyway, there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about quick, and that first one is on Friday also, and Mercury does the exact square to Chiron at that point, but like is starting to really release from all that energy. There's a really nice Venus sextile Mars. In fact, there's two really nice sextiles Friday and Saturday. So this is one of the two. Venus is sextile Mars. And this is like really, this is one of the top aspects for romantic attraction and opportunities for romantic relationships to kind of take off. But if not that, it can be also like new friendships that are very balanced. There's a lot of nice give and take, support of one another, creative energy in the friendships. So, but like many times those friendships will like start to step up into a more intimate level, into a more like romantic kind of level possibly. And then there's also, we can really tap into our creative energy when Venus is sextile Mars. There's a lot of like opportunity to push our creative ideas and maybe even get going on them, like, really start to produce something with them. Also, financial opportunities many times come up during Venus sextile Mars, things that like all of a sudden, but it's just it's a really fun aspect. It really makes us want to go out and socialize, connect with people, just have some fun, do things like that. Dating, it's a great dating aspect, So that's what we're looking at on Friday. And then on Saturday, another really nice sextile, but it doesn't have much to do with the Venus sextile Mars. It's Mercury again coming back into the picture. And after going through that tougher part of the week, sextiles Uranus. Now remember, this is the day Saturday that Saturn is going to station 2. But since it's a long-term planet, when the stationing occurs, it's not like Mercury where it can be really intense. It's just like more of a subtle shift. So the Mercury sextile Uranus is going to bring us new experiences. We're going to actually want to have new experiences next week. And we're going to want to go out and bring in like new knowledge, new wisdom, things like that, that, really get our minds stoked, and we can come up with some very ingenious ideas, very insightful, perceptive mind that can really, find some very interesting new ways of approaching old problems that are just like these new angles completely. Also like surprises that are beneficial, that bring opportunity and things like that. Also, the use of science, technology, the media, the occult, astrology, things like that to learn more too. It can have us kind of activated too in our local areas, maybe traveling around, little short trips where we get a little juice here, a little juice there. Very stimulating intellectual conversation matter that really fires us up intellectually. So all that going on too on Saturday. And then on Sunday is that exact Jupiter semi-square Chiron, which, like I said, we should have already been feeling, close to a month at least now, of just like feeling really frustrated that our values just don't seem to be, vibing well with the world right now, and what to do with that. And what's interesting is Venus is opposite Ceres that day too. And that can be issues with our family. That can be like feeling like, there's conflict within our family, and that, we can't seem to get through that. And a lot of times we feel like, also that we personally are not feeling like we're getting the attention once again that we want. We're not attracting other people to us, or we're not making a good impression. So we can kind of feel rejected. We can kind of feel used up, it can bring, some tough relationship issues is what it comes down to. So it's an interesting week, because to me, it's like a lot of it's like almost like this is a reality check week, and really having to look at where the structures of our stuff are weak, where we're not giving ourselves or getting enough support from the world and others in order to meet our needs, the pain that can, then bring, but then the ability to take what we're seeing and really work and organize some kind of plan on how to attack that. And once that happens, it may open up the space for some new ideas to come in that, are ingenious, but they may take a while to get going. They may be tied into the Sol Saturn retrograde, and also maybe blocked right now from the Jupiter Chiron. So a very interesting week on that level. I think it really has to do a lot with that, just getting more serious about the reality of the situation that you're in, and then organizing a plan as to what you're going to do about that in the real world, to make sure that your structures are some more solid, to make sure that your resources are more solid. And, and then there is, like I said, there is some fun in there too. Then, the Venus sextile Mars and Mercury sextile Uranus. Now, next week I'll not only look at the week, but I'll also look at the month of July. And I know one of the things in July is Chiron is going to go retrograde and join Saturn and Pluto. So we're going to have the third of some of the longer term bodies and planets going retrograde, and right before that, conjunction with Eris, which will happen next year. And also next week will be new moon in Cancer, and that'll be at about 15 degrees Cancer. And then Mercury is going to start the Leo parade and go into Leo next week. So that's what I'll be looking at next week. So once again, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Wings channel. This is a free video blog that I do on YouTube. I would love for you to be a follower, and I would really appreciate it if you could pass that link on right now. If you'd like to give a donation to the blog, become a patron, you right now will get an opportunity to win a free professional astrology reading. You get put into a drawing for every $5 you contribute. So well, if you're into doing that and helping out on that level, you can make a donation through Venmo. It's at Matthew-Lawton. So it's Lauten. It's capital M, a capital L. Matthew has 2 T's in it. Or in my Cash App, it's the $. And once again, Matthew Lawton. All one word, 2 T's, capital M, capital Lauten. And thank you to those who have already contributed. I appreciate you. And otherwise, the blog is, remembered, also embedded on the website. The website has all my menus for all the astrological services that I offer to individuals and groups. That is the best way for you to support me. When you are ready for a reading, or someone is, please get in touch with me. If you're someone that's needing like monthly or weekly or daily, because it's a key part of your life, or you're involved in some projects or for your business or whatever, rates for that too. To talk about all that stuff, there's a link right on my website, www.astrologicalwinds.com. Not channel at the end of that, just Astrological Winds. Or you can just email me, matthuey823@gmail.com. And remember, you can also find Astrological Winds channel on Instagram. You can also find it on podcasts if you would prefer to not do a video version. Okay, thank you all so much. I will see you all next week. We'll take a look at that new moon, and we'll see what else is going on in July.